Hey, 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 happy Tuesday with Tamika. Thank you guys so much for joining me for yet another episode of Tuesday with Tamika, where you guys already know what it is. We believe in lifting as we climb, turning those trials into treasures, living a life to inspire and not impress, allowing God to fully restore us, and loving as if we have never been hurt. I have a question for you guys before we start the podcast. Are you living for something bigger than yourself? Are you truly leaning into what God has for you, or are you on this common road of doing things over and over and over the same way because that's what you were told that you were supposed to do? Or because that's what you're good at. Everyone tells you how good you are at it. So you just continue to do this thing, but you don't feel fulfilled. A couple of weeks ago, me and my very, very best friend, that we have been friends since we were 9 years old, we did something that was so much bigger than us. We took Tuesday with Tamika on the road and we had a trip to San Francisco. And let me tell you, there were so many ups, so many downs, but it was so much bigger than both of us. And I guarantee that neither one of us are the same after that trip. I believe that today's podcast guest has an idea of how to do things bigger than you so it can stretch you, and ultimately so it can truly help you love as if you have never been hurt. So without further ado, hey sis, you have a minute?
Hey, Tamika. Yeah, I do. How are you doing?
I am so good. It is an honor and a privilege to have you on today's episode. Tell the TWT
Yeah.
family a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. Hey, girls. I am Jeanell. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. I am a first generation Canadian Filipino, and I have had the privilege of having the most incredible role models in my life, mostly my mother. And
Mm.
she really taught me to go big and to not settle or have she never expected me to be anyone else but myself. I've never really done life the way most people did. And when I tried to fit myself in that box, that was when I really suffered. And I
Mm.
would say the first time that happened was going through divorce and
Wow.
being a Catholic and being the eldest, the good girl, the straight A student, right? The people pleaser. And that was the moment in my life when I said, no more.
Mm.
I'm going to do life my way. And I had to come to Jesus and ask for forgiveness and really question. Because, I was like a lot of people said, divorce, I would never do that. Like, that's just terrible. And terrible people do that. And then there I was, really contemplating this moment in my life. And I go, do I just stay here so that I don't get judged?
Mm.
Or do I really follow my heart and actually look for what it is I wanted? And really, what I needed to do is I needed to heal that part of me. And what had happened was when I was 9 years old, my dad cheated on my mom with my mom's best friend who lived in our basement and got her
Wow.
pregnant. And
Wow.
and I was 9, my sister was 6, and my brother was 3. And in that moment, watching my dad leave, that little girl decided 3 things. I'm unlovable. I can't trust anyone, and everybody I love will leave me. So my whole life was all about getting into relationships, subconsciously, of course, into relationships that were toxic and abusive because I believe that I didn't deserve anything else than that. And when I finally got to heal that and go to and come to Jesus and ask for forgiveness and really hear him say, I love you and I want you to be happy and I
Mm.
forgive you. And there is more to your life than this. Once I got my power back, I really started to shift that. And the biggest shift I would say was leaving corporate. There I
Yeah.
was making 6 figures. I was the top of the food chain. I just won a free trip to Bermuda the year after that, won a free trip to Rome. They gave me cash. They sent me to the Sistine Chapel, to the Vatican. It was incredible. And yet there was something in me that was still missing and was
Mm.
hungry for more. And then there I was turning 40. I remember sitting on the couch and really reflecting on the first 40 years of my life being a competitive dancer, being a professional singer, being able to share the stage with Maya Angelou just before she passed away. Just
Wow.
all these incredible experiences. And yet I felt like that wasn't enough. And I
Mm,
needed to get real with myself about what does a successful and meaningful life even mean to me? Not
mm.
what society says. Because I had the money, I had the house, I had the car, I had the husband now. But what did that really mean to me? And so I had actually pictured myself at the pearly gates of heaven at the end of my life and
Mm,
St. Peter saying to me, Jeanell, what did you do with your life?
mm.
And what would I say? Well, I won a bunch of awards. I made lots of money, but there was nothing where I put my blood, sweat, and tears into that was bigger than myself.
Something bigger than Jeanell. Oh my gosh, I love that you took us on this journey with you, starting at your 9-year-old self. Because I think when people hear when I say love as if you've never been hurt, automatically our mind goes to romantic love. But it's
Mm,
so much bigger. If
right.
you don't love the people that hurt you, right? If you don't go back to that childhood pain and those childhood hurts that caused you to get, because no one wakes up. I don't know one little girl that sits and says, when I grow up, I want to be divorced, right? There's no little
Mm,
girl that sits and says, or a little boy that says, when I grow up, I want to date a bunch of dirt bags that are going to treat me bad, right? No, that's no
right.
one's mindset. But there's something in our childhood that causes us to have this pain and then to have us seeking for love and not in all the wrong places and not going
Exactly.
within. And there's
Exactly.
something inside of us that prevents us from loving as if we've never been hurt. So I want to unpack that a little bit
Yeah.
because I love that you healed that part of you, which
Mm,
now allowed you to truly love not only a romantic partner, but the life that you are living. You're in love with the life that you are living now.
I
So
am.
let's talk about how you did that. How did you first identify that this is why this was the source of my unhappiness, me,
Yeah.
being upset at my father for the things that he did? And then how did you heal that?
I think there was two things that happened. It was inside of my divorce, blaming him. And
Mm,
I did this weekend transformational course where I really saw that it was me that was responsible for the condition of my relationship and choosing the specific partner that I chose. And what I saw was that I had married, like so many women, I had married out of fear of being
mm,
alone more than
mm,
anything. And
mhm.
there I was in this relationship with someone who I shouldn't have been with. And I was trying to change him and mold him and fix him. And of course, he was resisting everything about it. And I made him wrong and bad and blamed him for that. And when my eyes were finally opened, I was able to say to him, listen, I am so sorry for treating
Mm.
you the way I treated you. You did not deserve that. And you are perfect just the way you are, and it
Wow.
doesn't work for me. And I would like to end this marriage. And you know what the beautiful thing is? We went to the divorce courts together side by side. We signed the papers side by side. We paid $80 to complete our marriage because we didn't have kids or a house or anything like
Mm.
that. And we went out for dinner. And then he dropped me off at the end of the night. I gave him a kiss on the cheek and I said, good luck. And that is if you knew what our relationship was before, where it was nasty and ugly, to be able to complete in such a peaceful and loving way is a miracle. No short of a
You are
miracle.
saying something that I've never heard anybody else say this. So I'm like, oh my God, I love it because I often say we don't have to call ourselves divorced. We've successfully completed the relationship. So
Yeah.
you guys completed the relationship and it was a success. Although the marriage was not a success, the completion of the relationship was a
Mm-hmm.
success. I love that for
Mm-hmm.
you. And I love that you were able to end it in a way that honored the both of you. And I'm sure if you look
Right.
back, you can bless the marriage. You could bless because there's
Yes.
tons of things that you learned.
100%, 100%. And then because I didn't come up from it from a bitter and resentful way, the first thing I did is I sat down and started to create what is my dream man, not
Mm,
from a place of what I don't want and from fear. It was really like from a creation, from abundance, from possibility and from worthiness. And
Yeah.
now I am married to someone who makes me want to be a better person every day. He he is my inspiration, and we've been together for 18 years, and still when he kisses me, it still takes my breath away.
Wow. Jeanell, oh my gosh. Today, me and my husband, we have been married for 6 years, and it's both of we've had other marriages and now we're into this one. And he said, I feel like we're on a forever honeymoon. And I was like,
Mm.
yes, like I want people to know that that's possible. But when he texts me, my kids always make fun of me because when my husband FaceTimes me, I get like, try to make sure I have because I'm still like so in love with him and I
Yeah.
love him so much, but it's because I healed those parts of me.
Yes.
I'm able to, like
Yes.
you use the word abundance. I'm able to be abundant in my love for him. And there is no fear that he'll take advantage of me or that he'll do any of
Right.
those things because I healed those parts of me. So I love that you went through that process and accepting. It sounds like you had to accept that you were partially at fault for your marriage, not your first marriage not working. What were
Mhm.
some practical things that you did to really heal? Because now you're out here helping folks like
Mhm.
attract amazing relationships. And I know
Mhm.
only way that we can do that if we first done the work. What is some of the work that you did?
Mhm. I think the very first thing was, first of all, becoming aware that I am responsible. It is so easy to put the finger out to everyone else because then we don't actually have to be accountable for everything. We don't have to
Right.
take responsibility and we don't have to change.
Hmm.
So what we do is we go and try to change everybody else.
Right.
So that was the first thing, was that. And then the second thing was really to go, okay, who am I right now? And who do I want to become to be the kind of woman that attracts the kind of man that I
Yes.
want? So I had
Yeah.
to not, I didn't put the responsibility on my future partner to be a certain way.
Mhm.
I put it on myself to be the kind of person that attracts that kind of quality man.
100%. That's so good. I always say we become it and then it just comes to us, right? So
Right.
the lists are great, right? We love to write the list and say he needs to be this and this and this and this is what I want. But when we become that, that's all that we're going to get. We're only going to get what we've already become because it's literally energy. It's
Yes.
it's it's God's law. You sow into yourself, you're going to reap the reward of someone amazing. So I love that you did that. And now you have this beautiful marriage of 18
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
How are you balancing family and business and loving your man? How are you doing that?
My man so gets me. And I was actually telling a client about this last night because he's trying to find a new woman as well. And I said, the one thing I love about my husband is I don't have to be anything else but myself.
Mhm.
I don't have to wear makeup. I don't, he sees me on my good days, my bad days. He's seen me crying and he just loves me. He forgives me. He
Mm.
holds space for me. We are each other's safe space. He
Yeah.
never blames me, and everything is a team effort. And
Mhm.
more importantly, we acknowledge and appreciate each other every single day. We are present to each other.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so when I'm busy, I'm very cognizant of what the impact on him. And so what that sounds like is, hey babe, I'm going to be working till about 8:30 tonight. Would you mind taking care of dinner so that I can do what I need to do? And could you make yourself busy till 8:30? He's like, absolutely. Here's what I'm going to do. I'll have that ready for 8:30. And until then, I'm going to be in my music room playing my guitar. And so he makes himself happy while I'm
Mm.
doing what I need to do. And every time I need that person to give me that high five for whatever reason, he's right there to support me and love me through it.
Ah, ding, 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 ding. That is like the correct answer. You said he makes himself happy. I think so often we believe we look for people to make us happy, but it sounds like you are walking in your passion and your purpose. And so you're happy because you're doing what you have been called to do. And then he's able to do what he's called to do. So often we drain our partners because we think that they're supposed to be something other than just themselves,
Yeah.
which in turn creates this beautiful partnership. So,
Mm,
how, what this is what I want to ask,
yeah.
because the internet be out here fooling people.
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever folks are on, really has us believing that there is this ideal relationship. You know, I haven't seen it recently, but there's always been hashtag relationship goals. And so we look at these couples and we look at things and we think our relationship has to look like that. And I think that's
Mm.
so far from the truth. But I do believe that there are some hard truths that we need
Mhm.
to, when we're in that space of ready to date and attract love and ultimately be married, what are some things that we should be looking for? Well, first, let me ask you, do you work with men or women? And what should men be looking for? And maybe even women be looking for in a partner?
Yeah. So majority of my clients are married couples with children, oftentimes both coming from divorced parents. And so they
Mm,
do not have the tools and the techniques that are required. Because I think there's this idea that love should just be easy and we don't have to think about it. We don't have to communicate it. Our partner should just read our mind and magically everything comes together.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that works for that first little bit. But when like reality sets in, we actually have to get responsible for, first of all, communicating our needs and
Mm,
expectations. Number two, having those hard conversations about what our values are around
mm,
family, around, the household, chores, like everything. And I think sometimes when we're in that honeymoon phase, we're afraid to have those conversations because we don't want to, rock the boat or,
mhm,
taint the rose colored glasses. But it is so important before you commit to forever with someone that you're in love with them for the right reasons, not because they're
mm,
good looking, not because they have a nice car, not because he wants kids and you do. Okay, great, that's enough. No, if you truly want, for example, what we have, we had to have really difficult and deep and vulnerable conversations about our trauma, about how we grew up, and really what is that we wanted from each other. And so,
mm,
if you asked my husband, how would you describe our marriage in one word? The word he would use is easy, but it's
mm,
easy because we put work into it every single day. And
mm,
we are so respectful and vulnerable in asking for what we want. We don't demand it, we ask for it in a way
mm.
that the other person can hear rather than what I used to do, which was this very passive aggressive
Mhm.
thing that I was taught as a child.
Right. Yeah, because we typically do what we saw our parents do, and when they didn't have the tools, we just continue on those negative patterns. I love that. Like, identifying your core values and having those hard conversations. My husband, in which I am like totally in love with, right when we were in our dating phase, actually, like, and we were engaged, and it was 2 weeks from us walking down the aisle. We called off our marriage because
Mm,
our core values were not aligned, and
mhm.
people were upset and whatever, but we didn't care because we weren't entering into a marriage for other people. We knew that this had to be us, and at the time we were not aligned. So we had to wait until we aligned, until we, and neither I love that you said in your first marriage, we try to mold them, and well, if they think like this, people are people. They're going to be who they are, and there are
Yeah.
some, just like, ways about myself that I'll never change, and some ways about my husband that he'll never change. And so you have to know, are folks listening, you have to know, are you really willing to deal with this? Because the red flags don't just pop up out of anywhere. They've always
Right.
been there, right?
Right. And to your point, there was a moment right before I got married in that first marriage where I remember calling my mom in tears and saying, "Mom,
Mm,
I don't think this is the right guy." And this was probably maybe a couple months from but the invitations had gone out, all the. And my mom said, "Oh, you're just having cold feet."
Mm.
But I knew in my gut, even driving up to the church, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just wanna run." But I was
Yeah.
so afraid of what would people think about me. So I am so happy to hear that you guys actually had the courage to put that aside, all those concerns, and just deal with what is so. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what other people, you are the one who has to go to bed with yourself, live with yourself, look at yourself in the mirror, and if you choose to marry this person, go to bed with that person every single night.
100%, 100%. So you are out here helping marry folks that don't
Mhm.
have the tools to
Mhm.
really live the life that they dream about.
Yeah.
How are you doing that? Tell us all about what you got going on.
Yes. Well, I work, like I said, I work mostly with couples, and usually it's a connection thing. Even when infidelity is at the forefront, it's not the reason. It's only a symptom of a deeper issue.
Mhm.
And so that's where I go to work with them, is those deeper issues. So I work with them both privately so that they can work on their own stuff and heal those things and
Mm.
dispel the beliefs that keep them alone. Because
Wow.
that is actually our biggest fear, is being alone. And yet we do these things to make sure we stay alone. So I
Yeah.
call them on their stuff, right? And then as a couple, we start to create, and I hold space for them to have these conversations that they've been avoiding, but are,
Mm.
once they have them, now they can start to rebuild their, I like to call it, their dream home together, without bringing in all of the old garbage, and really start
Mhm.
clean, so that they can create and start to create goals together and actually see a future beyond their children. Because I think that's part of it too, is they don't think about, okay, what's our relationship going to be like when we don't have kids, when we don't have this parenting role anymore. And so a lot of the couples that come to me are looking to split up because they don't recognize the other person, because they've
Mm.
drifted, because they have not nurtured the relationship throughout, and now they're basically married to strangers. And so I help
Wow.
them with it. And funny enough, though, most of my clients are men, and
Mm.
these men cry to me within the first one or two phone calls.
I
And yeah, and at first I was like kind of weirded out about it. I'm like, what is this? Because I noticed the trend. It wasn't the women, it was the
Mhm.
men. And then I realized, wow, this is a privilege and an honor to be with
Mhm.
these lawyers and doctors and CEOs in their most vulnerable moment, which I'm pretty sure their partner has never seen before.
And I think it's because, going back to what you said, you provide a safe place, and not only for yourself, but you've cultivated that for your clients. So I love that you are doing that. The
Yeah.
other thing that I wanted to touch on really briefly is, you talked about with your husband, you guys had those hard, vulnerable conversations. I don't think people realize that they don't end, right?
Mhm.
With ages
Yeah.
and stages of our life, there will be hard things that come up, and it can't be, oh, we've already dealt with that. Because as we grow, as we mature, as our body changes, as the way we think changes, as the way our home is structured changes, we got to continue to be open and vulnerable to have those hard conversations.
Ugh, vulnerability is like my jam.
Yeah.
And I think that is something, especially as women, or and men too, that we've been taught to avoid, that it's bad. But to your point, and why do I think I'm so effective? Is that I am not here to pretend like I got it all figured out. I am here sharing my scars. I'm sharing about, when I was molested as a child,
Yeah.
when my dad left. And so when I say I understand, I'm not just saying that just understand. Like, no, I get you. I've been there. I got the t-shirt, I got the shoes, I got the hat. And so they trust me to
Yeah,
hold that
yeah.
space. And
Mhm.
when I give them the coaching, they know it's coming from a place of experience, not just some knowledge or some course I took as a coach.
Mhm. Absolutely. And no growth can happen without trust. So I love that you are doing that, Jeanell. I love all the things that you are doing for the world and for
Thank
couples
you.
to have healthy homes, because despite what social media says, it is still amazing, and also God's design for us to have healthy marriages. So I love that you're doing that. Where can the
Absolutely.
TWT family get in contact with you? How can they find out more about your services? I am a firm believer that I may not be everyone's coach. So I love bringing on folks that have like testimonials and they have people that can say, yes, she is the one and she helped me heal this part of
Yes.
my life. Where can the TWT family find you?
Absolutely. They can find me at JeanellGreene.com or at saveourmarriage.ca. And the last thing I just want to say is, my big why is I am so concerned about the future of our
Mm,
children and our children's ability to have healthy families. Like I see this generational trauma getting worse and worse. And yet we have all these books and seminars and all this knowledge and resources. And yet we can't even figure out this thing called love and relationships. And
mhm,
we're creating a generation of people that are afraid to love, afraid to get married, afraid to be connected to another human being. But God
yeah.
made us from love, for love, to love. And so
Yeah.
that's really my mission, is to
Mm,
really transform that for future
mm.
generations.
Thank you so much for stepping into your calling. Thank you for your big why being much bigger than yourselves, because
Mm,
I truly believe when we live a life to inspire and not impress, you dream big, just like your sign says behind you, and we're able to ultimately help one heal so they can help one heal, and then we can maybe one day wake up to a world with less hurting and more healing. Jeanell, I thank you and I honor you for being a guest on today's podcast. TWT family, we will have all of her information in the show notes. Make sure you go to her website, check her out, get more information. If you're on the brink of divorce, if you're even wondering, like, should I marry this person? Consult with her, get with her. I believe that she has the tools and the skill set to help you to heal as if you are, to love as if you've never been hurt. TWT family, make sure you go over and rate this podcast. Give us those 5 stars. Make sure that you send this episode to someone that needs to hear it. And until next week, bye bye.